Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 675 to 676 for the 30th to the 31st of December for 2023. Happy New Year to you guys. I believe most of you guys should be in the new year right now. For those that are not, then yeah, please quickly join the civilization. You're very behind. You're like, you know, very old. So anyway, happy new year. So let's start off with the Kherson Southern Front. Over at the Southern Front, we have the Ukrainians continue to be in Krinky, with the Ukrainian Defense Ministry continue to talk about them getting attacked by the Russian forces over the 30th to 31st of December. So this is still ongoing. We have not much things to really report about this. The Russian forces continue to conduct counter artillery operations. Give me a minute. Yeah, so I'll refresh the page because some of the icons keep disappearing. So there is counter artillery shelling of Ukrainian artillery positions over at Chekino and also at Yahinka. So that's all from the Southern Front at Kherson Front. Over at the Zaporizhzhia Front, this is Zaporizhzhia city. At the Zaporizhzhia Front at the Orikhiv sector. So this is the Orikhiv sector. The Ukrainian forces launched a counteroffensive, particularly over in the western part of Novoperovska towards Verbove. The Russian forces continue to reduce the size of this pimple over here, with fighting reported west of Verbove, around the northeast of Novoprokopivka, in the north of Novoprokopivka, as well as Robotine. So this is the strategic situation over at this front line. And if I overlay the front line, let me go zoom in a bit. So I overlay the front line, you'll probably see some differences. So you can see that the Russians have successfully continued to push up around Novoprokopivka region, as well as having a very strong foothold in the southern part of Robotine. And the Ukrainians seem to have a little bit more over on this. Let me check. Oh no, wrong. Oops. So okay, so the Russians have some push, some success over in this side of Robotine. So and Ukrainians did also getting pushed over in the west of Verbove. However, they advanced slightly down towards Verbove along the road. So some of these accounts on Twitter, I saw that they reported about the Ukrainians having this advance in around Verbove region, or so-called recapturing of this Surovikin line or trench line. That's, I don't think is true, because they haven't exactly lost entire thing of it. So the Russians continue to make advances while the Ukrainians just simply go down the road a bit, capturing some of this entrenchment along the road. So this main thing is around this, and there is also some slight changes along this front line, very slight, so it's not very significant around here. And the Ukrainians also have advanced over in the western part of Novoperovska, according to the mapping. So all these mapping differences mainly come from Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source. So there is some changes around here. So that's something very interesting to take note. So we move on to the other side of the Zaporizhzhia Front over at the Velika Novosilka sector. There is some exchanges of fighting around the Prione region. The fightings flare up again with the Russians. Ukrainian Defense Ministry said the Russians attacked on the 30th of December, whereas the Russians say the Ukrainians attacked on the 31st of December. But because the 31st of December report tends to report the day before, so it could be actually referring to the same thing. So they actually clash with each other, rather than actually some kind of a one-sided affair. So we're not sure what is the real situation. But as we can see from the date, the last fighting was in early December. Ukrainian attack was the last was in October. So there is some interesting development around here in Prione. There is also some kind of fighting reported at Uruzhaine. The Russians are reportedly attacking Uruzhaine, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, on New Year Eve. This is the last attack was in early December as well. So this is actually interesting that the Russians are attacking, and this attack comes also with airstrikes with geolocation by military summary of some big explosions over in Uruzhaine. So we shall continue to monitor and see if this leads to some kind of a new offensive operation in this sector of the front line. We move on into the Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, this is the Donetsk Front, which is this Donetsk city. So we are in the southwestern part of Donetsk city. Over at the Voleda sector, there is some reports of fighting towards Vodian as well as in the area of Voleda. So this is interesting because we haven't seen any fighting in this area as well, similarly since early December. So we shall continue to monitor and see, like if this is related to the Uruzhaine one. Is it the operation that they operates together at the same time? They plan it together at the same time to again distract Ukrainian forces away from other front line to reinforce this part, so that they can actually have better success, particularly over at the Avdiivka Front, because they are struggling to make breakthroughs over at Avdiivka Front over the past 2-3 weeks. Over at the Marinka-Novo-Mikhailivka region, fighting continued to be reported at Novo-Mikhailivka, with Russian and Ukrainian Defense Ministry both reported the Russians attacking Novo-Mikhailivka, but I think this is pretty positional. It doesn't feel like the Russians are making any assault into the village just yet. The Ukrainians hold the line very well, so Novo-Mikhailivka holds. So we move on over at Marinka region. There is fighting reported in this area, with Russian Defense Ministry reported about Ukrainians attacking Marinka as well as from Georgievka. So the Russian Defense Ministry talked about fighting near Marinka, but then after that in a separate report they talk about fighting near Georgievka. So that's interesting. And then the Russians are also being reported to be attacking according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So there is some kind of exchange in the fighting. Probably the Ukrainian attack is coming from at Marinka is coming from the north, whereas the Georgievka is the one coming from the south. So Russians are probably attacking in the south, in the west of Marinka. So we shall wait and see how this progress. This is going to be a transitional moment, from the Battle of Marinka to Battle of Georgievka. So we shall wait and see how this develops. Fighting is also reported over at Krasnohorivka according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, but we have no details, so that's about it. We move on away from the Donetsk Front into the Avdiivka Front, or Avdiivka Front. So some people tell me to pronounce it as Avdiivka. I pronounce it as Avdiivka. So yeah, so Avdiivka Front, the Russian forces continue their Avdiivka offensive, with fighting reported at Stepove over in south at Avdiivka. South of Avdiivka, at Pervomaisky and Nevelsky. So the amount of attack being reported is much lesser. It could be because of New Year, they are partying, perhaps, I do not know. There is some change in terms of the front line, particularly over in the northern part. In this area here, the Ukrainian forces from Novo-Bakhmutivka region have seems to retook some of this railway line with geolocations along the railway line, showing Ukrainian forces in that position. Then there is also a tank battle in the area in the Stepove, where, so let's see, this is not tank battle, it's actually more like a position of forces getting shelled. So the Russians are along this tree line, Ukrainians were actually in the open. They were launching an attack, and this caused some fighting in this area here. Actually help us to determine where the front line is basically still pretty much a gray zone around Stepove region. We move on away from the Avdiivka Front. At the Niu-York Front, the Ukrainians tried again at Sumy on the 30th of December. The Ukrainian forces attacked in the area of Sumy, but we don't have much other details in terms of this situation. So we move on away to Bakhmut Front. At the Bakhmut Front, this is Bakhmut city. In the southern part of Bakhmut Front, this is southern part, the Russian forces attack Klishevka, Andriivka, and Kudyomivka. So pretty much the strategic situation remains the same. Nothing much new regarding this. Over in the northern half, there is fighting reported towards Ivanivsky and are fighting in the area of Bodanivka. Ukrainian forces is reported to be also attacking at Bodanivka, so not sure exactly what's the situation around here. This is wrong color. Russian forces is geolocated at Kromove and also in the northern part of Bodanivka. Particularly in the northern part one, the Russians are along these tree lines, so showing the Russians did indeed have some strong positions around the northern part of Bodanivka. So this is actually corroborates their positions around there. So that's all from the Bakhmut Front. At the Sivers Front, we have no reports. We move into the Kreminna Front. At Kreminna Front, the Ukrainian forces launched multiple attacks over at Torske, at Dibrova, as well as within the Serebranske Forestry, with the Russians counter-attacking only in the Serebranske Forestry. In this area here, there's some significant frontline changes, particularly on the Ukrainian mapping. So in the Ukrainian mapping, you can see that the Ukrainians over the past not sure how many days, the Ukrainian forces have recaptured a lot of this Serebranske Forestry around the Torske salient, as well as deep and western part and southwestern part of Dibrova. And in fact, the advance is quite big to the point where they are actually getting very close to Dibrova again after managing to push them back some days ago. Hey, why like that? Wait, go back. So, one more. Yeah. So, yeah. So this is so they managed to actually push back quite a bit again towards Dibrova. So the Russians are actually pretty much pushed back again after the previous months ago. They managed to successfully push forward, so now they are getting pushed back. But of course, this is based on Ukrainian mapping, so take it with a pinch of salt. And move on. There is also a CV-90 getting hit by a Russian missile or something, or maybe a FPV drone. But the military summary geolocated this. They claim that it was destroyed. I can't really tell based on the footages. Over at the Svatove Front, this is Svatove. At the Svatove Front, there is Russian attack over at Makiivka. Information coming from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on both days, 30th and 31st. And over on the Stemakivka region, the Russians were attacking. Russians say the Ukrainians are attacking Novoselivsky. So there is some exchanges in terms of the offensive actions. I think these are all probing attacks, nothing of significance. I don't think these are major assaults. Over at Kupyansk Front, this is Kupyansk, and this is the Kupyansk Front. At the Kupyansk Front, the Ukrainian forces launched an attack at Ivanivska, whereas the clashes over at Sinkivka continue. So this push at Ivanivka is reported by Ryba, claiming that the Ukrainians have wedged themselves into the defensive line of the Russian forces near Ivanivka. Otherwise, Sinkivka, there's nothing particularly special to report about. So anyway, that's it. It is a pretty quiet 2 days. It could be a case where the OSIN or the people reporting are all on holidays or something, celebrating the New Year, so there's a lot lesser information. I'm not sure if that's the case, but anyway, so this is the 2 days, 30th and 31st, and we wrapped up 2023, which also means that in around 2 months time, the war will have its 2nd year anniversary. So anyway, thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe, bombard it, fire fireworks into this like button, and of course, for those that have not pressed the subscribe button, you are not subscribed to the DPA War channel, do subscribe, join the DPA army. I'll see you guys in the next update.